Hello, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and by now I'm sure you've all seen, if you follow the New York City news, that New York City, the NYPD, are utilizing um, robot dogs, essentially these four-legged robots, um, to help in their police work, and I'm very concerned because obviously this is going to put hardworking canine officers out of a job. No, it's not what I'm concerned about. In fact, I'd be thrilled if canine officers no longer had to risk their lives. That would be great, right? Um, no, what I'm concerned about is not this version of the dog, right? This version, it appears to be moved around in a squad car primarily. It can, of course, walk, and it was recently used in a situation, I think, to put eyes on individuals who officers, didn't want to approach directly. It was a danger to the officers, so this apparently unarmed robot was used to, go put eyes on this person, was very mobile, and give the officers a vantage point to observe these people. And it may have saved lives, both the officers' lives and the individuals being surveilled, right? And that's great. And so this version of the robot is also great. Very happy. Saving lives is very important. I love saving lives. Um, Here's, though, the logical progression. And this is important because I think the FBI reports there are about 40 different kinds of drones that fly over New York City, operated by various state and federal and local agencies. All, I assume, with different purposes or different purviews. New York City also has this gunshot triangulation system, right? If a gunshot goes off in New York City, there's a number of microphones. I'm wildly oversimplifying, but there's a number of microphones that triangulate where in New York that gunshot was, just by the sound waves, by measuring empirically sound and echoes and things of that nature, and it's able to determine within a very narrow margin of error where that gunshot took place, where a gun was discharged, right? So I think the next thing you're going to see is little drones that fly around and zero in on that spot where the gunshot was. I think that's tremendous too. That's going to save more lives. It's very important. The next step beyond that, so step 3 to using robots to police New York City, is going to be really bad for most of the NYPD, right? So most of the NYPD makes their money on overtime. I think it's safe to say, generally speaking, you don't get rich in the NYPD unless you're working a lot of overtime. So if you have, we'll go back to these four-legged robots circulating around on patrol. They're running on a program. They're not being operated all the time, right? That's, in the future, that's what they're going to develop this to. The robots are going to be able to walk around, cross the streets, observe. And when they come on something, similar to those drones that, are activated by the gunshot system and go to it, when these four-legged drones come on something that is of interest, it's going to alert an NYPD operator. It's going to say, hey, back at Maine, I need to talk to you. We need a human involved in this. Why don't you hop on the controls and take over me, the robot, because we got a situation here. I've noticed something. Okay, well that's great because you're going to have more attention, right? These animals are going to be around. They're going to be more capable of being involved or being nearby when something might happen that an officer might be required for. Certainly, it's been an issue over the course of the pandemic in New York. The officers are not generally being very responsive. It's one of the reasons why crime is overtaken New York City again. Of course, I don't blame the officers necessarily. I blame Mayor de Blasio, who is a nightmare for the city. But so let's say you got these dogs walking around, these robot dogs walking around. All of a sudden, you only need a handful of operators because very few of the dogs are going to be asking for operator attention at the same time. What does that mean? Overtime. Gone. It's over, right? If you can patrol a huge geographic scope of land with maybe 10, 15 operators who only have to hop in to control one of these robot dogs from time to time, well, the number of officers you need, it's reduced to a fraction of what it used to be to patrol that area. And listen, walking patrol was never a good job in the NYPD. Most officers hate it, right? But it sure was a way to people get hours, right? It was a way to keep the force really a lot of people working, right? And it was a way to keep NYPD officers earning enough to get ahead of that New York cost of living, although most of them don't really live in the city, right? So this is an issue because all of a sudden you're going to be dealing with all of these officers over the next 5 to 10 years losing their overtime. What are they going to do? They might not be able to afford to keep working for the NYPD, frankly, right? Because New York does not pay that well, and New York's pretty goddamn insolvent right now. So it's not like they're going to be rolling out any raises anytime soon. So this is something the police union should be keeping an eye on. This is important. The nature of policing in New York is about to change very rapidly over the next 5 to 10 years. And my concern is the union, I don't know if they really got their eye on the ball here. Maybe they do. Maybe, you know what? Maybe they're geniuses. Maybe they know what's going on. Maybe they're way out ahead of this. They got plans. I hope that's the case. If they don't, however, I hope someone shows this video to them and they sit down and say, yeah, we can't afford to lose that overtime. That's not going to work. What are we going to do? And they come up with a plan, right? Just a thought. Listen, it's a little sci-fi right now. I'm a little getting ahead of myself here. It is what it is. I'm just saying that overtime matters. A lot of officers and a lot of families rely on that overtime. Is it still going to be here in 5 to 10 years? I hope so.